Hi, I'm Empress Rose, and this is Judgment. Very scary sounding card. But it's about review, repeating cycles, or at least looking back at them, imagining if you had to repeat something, if you had to do it over again, what would you do? Recalling something. There's a sense to me always with this of the spiral of that growth of hitting that same partners cycle. How have we grown? How would we like to hit this same issue later? What have we learned from this? In our Kabbalah, judgment comes over here. So it's not necessarily part of the creation process, which would be more heading through here, but it is sort of an assessment. Here we had our inner assessment. How did we feel? What sort of issues did this bring up? And here we have sort of the externals. So this is more, we've got sort of our school of hard knocks over on this side. And this is like in our school of hard knocks, what have we learned? What have we gotten out of this? Here we have Hod, this is taking place in our solar plexus, fresh out of this tower moment. What did we learn from this tower moment? How might we avoid a tower in the future? How did we respond to the crisis? What do we think? What would we do differently in the future? So we're headed into the sort of the end of the cycle, the end of what's going on. I always think of this as the back of the book, not even the last chapter. The last chapter was the Sun card. Remember, that's when we wrapped things up, when everybody's storylines wrapped up. This is sort of, these are the questions. Judgment card to me comes in as questions at the end of the book. What did you think? Like the book group questions, like what did you think when so-and-so did this? How do you think the author handled that? What did you think when this happened? So these questions at the end of the book. So all the plot twists have been known. We know where all their characters went on from here. And now we're just reviewing the book and making sure we got the most out of it, right? What's the point of an adventure or these lessons unless we get something out of it and we learn from it and we grow from it? So this is your opportunity, your growth opportunity to grow from an experience that you've had. So, and it also reminds me of sort of like, please take this survey. How was our customer service today? So it's sort of the survey at the end of the encounter. You had this hour-long phone call and they're asking you to spend 5 more minutes unpaid of your time to take the survey and give them some feedback so that they can, do better next time, as if they will. So these are ones that are asking for the judgment and they don't really care. I don't know why they ask you these questions. So learning from the past, though, ready to receive. So we've handed in our paper, right? We were talking about this with the sun. These cards really go together. We've handed in our paper. We've done all the research. We handed everything in, everything we know, we've shared. And this is sort of, now we're going to get the grade back. We finished our gymnastics routine, ta-da, with the sun card. And now the judges are coming up with their numbers. What do they think? What do they think about what we did and about, was it creative? Did we execute it well? All of that. So we're getting ready to receive the decision. We're the lawyer in the courtroom and the jury has been dismissed and here the jury is deliberating and making those decisions, right? It's judgment, judging. We've got judges here. We've got a judge here that is either external to us and telling us, here's what I think you could have done better. We've submitted our film to the film festival and now we're getting what did they think? What do the judges think? Back, right? Here's what you could have done better. Or we're having that moment ourselves. So some of the cards will pull out more external and some of the cards will pull out more that internal, like, well, what do we think about what we did? What would we do different next time? So this could be like the end of life review where your life flashes before your eyes and you're watching what you did and you're watching everything that happened. And what do you think about, how you've conducted yourself here? This can also be like Christmas, right? And then we're going to move on from this to the World card, which is going to be New Year's Eve. But this could be Christmas, and what are you getting in your stocking, right? Were you naughty or were you nice? Are you getting coal or are you getting diamond earrings or whatever, So this is sort of that evaluation. Sort of what is Santa going to bring you? What did Santa think about your behavior this week? And of course, you're Santa ultimately. Or you could actually have a judge. If you're dealing with some sort of external thing, this could actually be a judge or a jury coming back. So next time we pass this way, next Christmas Eve, do you hope that you're more certain that you were naughty or nice? Like, what did you learn from this past year? So it's a sort of that year-end review, the post-mortem after the meeting or after the big event. You know, if you're an event planner, sometimes your team will have a post-mortem, discuss, you know, what worked, what didn't work, take some notes so that you can dig them out next year when it's time to start planning the event again. To what worked, what didn't work, you know, having some sort of institutional memory about what happened. And there's a little bit of evaluation with it. That's how we learn. That's really important. You know, a lot of our experiences are just experiences, but a lot of them are learning experiences, and it's important to pull what we can out of that. It reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So like there's judgment here, but I also want to say no judgment, right? We're all learning, but part of learning is making assessments of, you know, you're presenting your art project to the art class, and part of what you pay for when you go to art school is to have someone assess that. You want that. You're asking for it. You're actually paying very good money for your own improvement. So when, right, and some art teachers are better at needling you towards that improvement, and others like more or less think that destroying you is the way to make you improve. Well, it doesn't work for me and most people I know. But this is sort of like you paid for the evaluation. So accept the evaluation. Like this is part of what you signed up for, is an improvement. This is here to help you improve and help you hit this next time. So if we're talking about a road trip, this is sort of like you're going home and you're doing a slideshow for your neighbors, which is now like Facebook and Instagram. But you're doing a slideshow for your neighbors, and you're being like, you know, don't go to that hotel, actually. You know, everybody says to hit this site, but we say no, we say hit this other site. Like that one's no, it's crowded and it's not that great. Go to this one, this place. It's much better. You get the same view, fewer people. So there's that sort of like feedback, evaluation sort of thing going on. You're giving your stars, you know, you're rating the experience here. So in the placement and the order, you know, we've discussed like we're coming after the sun. So everything that's known needs to be known. Hopefully sometimes we have to make judgments on partial information, but you know, this is so what do you think? You know, ta-da, here's judge my work, please. So, and it's before the world, the last step where the cycle's actually completed. This is the last step. So of course we don't like go through this in order, but this is sort of, if everything went in an orderly fashion, this would be our last step before the complete end, is just looking back at where you've come, you know, stopping at the end of the hike and turning around and seeing, we went up that mountain and we came back down, holy moly. Next time, let's bring more water. So, you know, what would you do better next time, sort of thing. So in this one, we have this angel, we have the clouds parting, and this clarity, this clear call coming through, this clarity coming through. It can be an epiphany. It can be some kind of insight, some kind of, epiphany into, oh, I see now, I understand now, because we have the clouds parting and the sun coming through, and some sort of understanding and clarity, like we have seen the sun, and now this is like seeing what we needed to see. And then we have general enthusiasm over here, and these things that we thought were long and buried and in the past coming back very enthusiastically and very authentically, right? They're naked, they're not hiding anything, nothing's hidden here, everything can be seen. So yeah, so they're emerging, they're changed. That's one of the verses that this talks about, is in the Bible, is like all shall be changed in the blink of an eye. So there's a sense of an epiphany coming in that changes you and changes how you would do things next time. There's also a sense of restoration, being whole, being healed, like there's renewal. And there's changes, we're changing, there's a sense of renewal, there's a sense of being able to come back and do something better, more fully, more wholly. The outcome is known with the sun, and it's also understood. That's the judgment. We understand now the journey that we've been through and what's happened. We're enlightened and we understand. So here we have, from the Golden Tarot, we have Jesus, basically a very similar thing. I like to think of him as discussing the underworld that he went to. I'm mixing my belief systems here, but discussing the underworld and what he saw and what he experienced there, and coming back with all this wisdom to give to us and to share on what his experience taught him and what he learned. So there's a sense of enlightenment, reporting back on what's happened, and really listening. So this could be actually a call to you to listen to some sort of how you're different, to listen to some sort of wisdom, be it external wisdom, right? Those judges or that professor is here with wisdom to give you. They've got a lot more years on you, a lot more years of experience. That's why they're the teacher and you're the student. And listening to that, it can be really hard because you can end up without a lot of self-love going into it. You can end up feeling judged or feeling, right, it's the judgment card. So you can end up feeling judged, but the point of this judgment should be for your growth and development. Not to just tell you you're a crappy person or you're a crappy artist, right? There has to be some sort of understanding, or there ought to be some sort of understanding of where you're at and where this other person is at. And that hopefully it's much easier to receive when the message is delivered well and when you're in a receptive mode. So this can be being receptive to feedback or being receptive to some other wisdom that's here to help you do your journey and feel more successful along your journey in the long run. So listening and receiving wisdom. And they're all very eager. These all show very eager listeners, people very eager to receive the wisdom from this experience. And then we have this one, again, very similar, but I like how these ones are resurrected, these ones are coming back, and this one's, we're leaving some things behind. Some things just didn't have much for us. Not everything a professor is going to tell you is going to end up being useful to you. Sometimes they don't quite understand you, and there might be a comment or two that's just like, oh, okay, I don't know how that relates to me. And you can ask follow-up questions, or you can just take 90% of what they say as great feedback, and then leave whatever just kind of jarred you the wrong way or felt really not healthy for you. But again, we have a parting of the clouds, we have a clarity coming in, an understanding, and sort of also a reaching for loftier heights here. But leaving what doesn't work. Not everything it has to be a lesson, right? Some things, some part of it isn't necessarily a lesson you need to take. It's with you. It doesn't have part of your future. It doesn't need to come back with you. From the underworld, that lesson, that wasn't actually a lesson, that's just something to leave there. Doesn't need to come up. And then with the Santa Muerte, we have this arrival. You can almost hear the ta-da from the sun card, this child from the sun card that we co-created. And here's the panel of judges. They are assessing. They're giving their, I give a 3. What? I give a 9. I'm going to give a 5. Oh my gosh, I'm going to give a 10 for sure. So there's a lot of assessment here. And again, this one has some sort of divine guidance, but these are the experts, right? This is clearly the child. This is clearly the student, the learner, the performer. These are the experts. These are the ones that do know. So if you're getting feedback, this is definitely feedback to at least listen to most of it. Not all of it will be helpful, but listening to a lot of it. And there is an authority there. They have an authority to give this feedback. They're the professor. They're the judges at the gymnastics thing. They're a jury. They've been asked, even if they're not experts, they've been asked to give their opinion. And did you please them or not? So judgment can be very scary. Obviously, we don't want to. And it has several connotations, right? We want to have good judgment, but we don't want to be judgmental. So parsing that out can be kind of interesting. And in the ForHaxa, we have the making peace. There's a sense of something's over, make peace with it and release yourself from it. So making peace with that past, making peace with what's gone on. I love how this brings like this really gentling light here. Here she is sort of dying. Here's these sort of arrows of truth and insight coming in. And we're releasing something here and we're making peace with something. This is a very peaceful feeling card, even though we do have these arrows coming in, being truth, being communicated, somebody's truth being communicated. But there's a sense of making peace with this, paying attention to something, focused attention, seeking the truth, but it's for the purpose of peace. It's for the purpose of making peace with it and releasing yourself from, right, we're at the end, we're releasing ourselves. This is the final little bit where we do some sort of assessment. I learned everything I can from this. Thank you for these lessons. Letting go. So making peace with the past, learning what you can, which can be like mining it for good, useful information and then letting it go, right? We don't want to be ruminating over the past and constantly bringing it up. There's a sense of, okay, I've learned everything I can from this, and now it's time to just release the event and stop hashing it out. But you do want to learn, but you also don't want to get stuck in the past and rehashing things over and over again beyond usefulness. So there's a sense of this is useful to you. This is for your growth. Anything beyond that, make every attempt to let it go. And I love this one, that she actually calls this awakening. And we have this sort of epiphany coming in and piercing her heart. She understands, she sees everything in a totally different way, seeing something in a new light. And that can be a little scary because it can make us feel like we can end up feeling like we were doing it wrong before. But if we can just go back to that Maya Angelou quote, do your best until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. Just giving yourself that forgiveness, again, making peace with your own actions, making peace with other people's actions, learning what you can, allowing that epiphany to come in and change you and transform you and change how you would approach it next time, but not feeling bad. Like, you know, like if we're talking this road trip, you don't need to feel bad that you stayed at a janky hotel. Just don't stay there again. That's all. Like, learn your lesson. Don't stay there again. Don't stay at that hotel, and tell your friends not to stay at that hotel. Maybe write a review. But other than that, once you write the review, let it go, right? Because this is all review, repeat, rehash it, but all for the purpose of growth and epiphany. So awakening, if we saw something that wasn't true or right, we need to be open to the possibility that this is a learning experience for us, and that maybe we were a little bit wrongish. And we need to learn and do better next time, but having unconditional love for yourself as you learn and grow, because that's almost the only way to learn a lesson. Otherwise, we're defensive against those lessons, and we put up barriers to our own lessons and growth out of fear of having some sort of revelation that we might have been wrong, and then what? We're horrible people. So making sure that you're approaching any of this sort of awakening and this rehashing out of a sense of love for who you were as you went through it, where you were and what you knew. You know, we do the best with the information we have, and trying to, you know, both hold yourself accountable, but also allow for that. So learning these lessons, letting things go so that we can let it rest. And then in the Guardians of the Night, I really love this imagery here, the shedding of the old skin. This is your old self. You're new now. You've grown. You've outgrown who you were. You weren't wrong. The skin wasn't wrong. You outgrew it. So that work in personal growth, that work in leaving something behind, leaving this past self behind, or this past way of doing something behind, for your own personal growth, and how beautiful that is. But these are the lessons learned, and letting go. There's definitely a lesson of letting go of something once it's outlived its usefulness. This skin was obviously, we can't even debate it. It was obviously very useful to you. It was your skin. It was very useful, but you've outgrown it now. So now you can let it go. Thank you, skin, for all that you've done for me. You know, we can Marie Kondo our old selves. Thank you for all you did for me. But now it's time for me to move on and to go forward with my life. I have new skin, and I'm being called into a new self. So that's a lot of what this call is. All these trumpets here, and here we even have this trumpet calling you into a new self, into a new way of seeing something, into the new way, and leaving this old thing in the past. But you're being called into this, to a new place. This is the call. Lessons learned. So you've been through all of this, maybe sometimes repeatedly, and out of order, and it's been crazy. It's been crazy. And you've been through all of that, and we want to learn from it, and we want to grow from it, and then we're going to leave what we no longer need, our old self, behind, and we're being called into a new self, into a new reality. So in the reversal, there can be indecision, no decision, delayed decision, right? You're waiting for the judges, and they're like, oh, well, the professor actually got sick, and so we can't, we won't get our grades for another couple weeks. Or, you know, the jury deliberates for way too long. There can also be a thoughtlessness, a lack of intentionality, a refusal to learn from a mistake, like some sort of lesson being here, but you're not taking anything from it. And also of fighting the inevitable, refusing to move on from something, ruminating and ruminating, but not necessarily learning anything new, just refusing to learn from the situation. It can be regret, blame, lack of self-awareness, right? We're having this personal awakening here. But if this comes in reverse, this is like, there's something you need to be learning from this experience, but you're not. You don't want to learn it. Refusing to learn from the past, right? This thing comes in. Here we have the past sort of dominating here, something that we don't need anymore, something that's not, it's not useful to be here anymore. So, and that being left behind. Refusal to learn from the past, refusal to shift, to grow. Similar cards in the Minor Arcana would be Six of Cups. So time to move on. There's a less about growth and more about like time to leave the past in the past. We'll take with us some ideas, hastily packed, but leave the past behind. Oh, and then, oh, that's funny. I was thinking Six of Cups. I talked about Six of Swords, but Six of Cups, as far as like something, an order you put in a long time ago and reconnecting with that coming in now, something from the past coming back for a redo. So that's usually about relationships or passions or whatever coming back for you to get another chance to do them. So some things come back and some things don't, or they're done, but some things do return. And so did we learn anything from last time, and how do we want things to go this time? So yeah, anyway, I hope that was helpful with Judgment. The last sort of thing we need to do in this co-creation, and it's sort of like outside of the creation element and just evaluating the process and what we learned from this whole adventure that we've been on. So hope that was helpful. And we just have one more. We have the World card, and then it's over.